Hello children, today's class is going to be a very exciting one. In today's class, we'll be looking at how to make a snake game using the Scratch app. I'm going to be fast into this tutorial. Since it's a video, you can always pause, rewind to watch any aspect you're not clear with. But since we have a lot to cover, I have to be fast so that the video will be short. So to get started, we'll delete this sprite and then we want to paint a new sprite. Now the new sprite we are painting will represent the snake we are to use in this game, and we have here, make sure you select this tool. This is the rectangle tool, and zoom in and then you draw your rectangle. Holding the shift key will help to give you a square shape. We want to use a square, not a rectangle. So I've drawn my shape and I've seen the image here on the screen. I think it's too small, so I'll make it a bit bigger and a bit bigger. Okay, I like this size. So after doing that, give it the color you want. I think I want what color do I choose for this? Yes, I think this color is fine. So after you're done with that, just click convert to bitmaps and then you're ready to go. Then let's go to the code area. To add the codes to this, we'll start with the events block and we'll choose the when flag is clicked. When flag is clicked, we want to use the if key. So the first thing we want to position is, on this game I want to move my snake around using 4 keys on the keyboard, which will be the 4 arrow keys. So the up arrow, left arrow, down arrow, and the right arrow. So to program those keys, that is what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to use the if block to program it. If then, and what will be there is the sensing. Go to the sensing block and we'll put in the if if key space pressed. So the if key space pressed to be changed to the up arrow. And after we do that, when we press the up arrow key, what should happen is you point in direction. Point in which direction? Now for the up arrow, when we click on this 90, it gives us this option, so we can click and drag to reposition our arrow to face up. So the up arrow should always make the snake to face up. When we're done with that, right click to duplicate this, and we have this, and we change this up arrow to what? To the down arrow. After down arrow, changing to down arrow, reposition the arrow key for the pointing direction. So that would be pointing direction 180 degree. Duplicate again, change the down arrow to the right arrow, and when you change to the right arrow, make sure you're pointing right. That will be 90 degree. Duplicate on this. Okay, I clicked on something wrong. Duplicate, I clicked on add comment instead, and we'll choose the left arrow key, and for the left arrow key we just drag this thing to face left, minus 90 degree. So that is done. So always notice that once you give a command like this using the if block, if you don't choose forever, it will not happen continuously. So because of that, let's add the forever block to swallow everything which we've done, and we have this. Now let's test our code to see what we have so far. So I'll click on the green flag, and green flag is clicked. Then I'll press up arrow and down arrow. Yeah, it's not moving accordingly or appropriately, so we'll just add one more thing. I'll click on this to stop it from playing. We need to add how it moves in this stage, but I'd not add it for each of this because I wanted to add it generally. So move 10 steps will be under the forever. It will be inside forever, rather under the last if block. Inside forever under the last if block. Let's test this to see if it gives us something reasonable. Okay, so we can see what we have. This is lovely. It's moving by itself, and when it gets to the edge it stops moving by itself. Okay, so we have that. That's fine. Now we want to control the movement, the speed of that movement. So because of that, we'll be making a variable, and we'll call that variable speed. So make a variable and we'll call it speed, and I'll click OK. It's for all sprites. Now after making the speed variable, at the beginning of the game we want to add another trigger. When flag is clicked, we want to set the speed at the beginning of the game. So set speed to, let me say 5. Let's set it to 5. Now this speed variable is what will help you to control your game in different levels. So if you're creating this snake game to be in levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably till 10 if you like, this speed is what will control the difference between level 1 and level 2. Notice that in games level 1 The difference between level 1 and level 2 is always the speed is more complex, and in the game, for a snake game, it's faster. So we're going to do that. And but for this tutorial, we'll be looking at just one level. I'll make other tutorials where I would be able to implement different levels for our snake game. So we have the speed here, and then we'll move this speed to fill in this space where we have move 10 steps. So with this, I'll click on the green flag and let's see what we have. Okay, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving. Okay, everything's working fine. Now our snake doesn't really look like a snake, it just looks like a block. And I don't like the fact that when I started it was hiding. I didn't find the block quickly, so let's fix that. So we use the go to block under motion, go to and let's position at the start of the game where we want this snake to be. It's 0 0, that's in the center. Let's click. Okay, that's fine. It starts from the center, so we've positioned that in the center. We've also set the speed to 5. The next thing we want to do is, it doesn't look like a snake, let's make it look like a snake. So we want it to be long like a snake. So to do that, we're going to add a clone, create a clone of itself. So to create a clone of itself, let's get to control. Under control, we'll need this block later. Let me just bring it out. Create a clone of myself. We'll also need this one later. And we need green flag when the green flag is clicked. So when the green flag is clicked, then it should create a clone of itself, and we want this to happen how often? We want it to happen forever. So it keeps creating a clone of itself, and when it does that, when I start as a clone, what should happen? It should wait for, let's say, 1 second before deleting the clone. Let's see if the 1 second works fine. So let's get started. Okay. Wow, 1 second makes the snake so long already. It's quite long for a start. Okay, well, everything is moving fine. Just that the length of the snake is it's too long. Okay. What if I want to even make another variable? Because this variable will even help us when we are creating different levels of this game. I want to make a variable and I want to call it clone size. So this is another way of doing it, making a variable to control the clone size. So I'll call this clone size, and that's the variable. So we'll wait 1 second, will be the clone size. So when this game, when flag is clicked, the clone size, set clone size to what? Let's say at the start of the game, let's say 0.2, 0.2, good. And then we'll drag clone size to this. Instead of waiting 1 second, we'll wait the number of clone size. Okay. Now let's do this. Full screen. Yes, I think I like the size of this snake. Now this is what the 0.2 has done, and we can see here we have here clone size 0.2. I don't want it to appear, so let me go and hide that. Clone size should be hidden. Even the speed should be hidden. When you create levels, a level variable can appear there. Okay, and the score. Okay, so far this is what we have so far. So far so good. Our game is working fine. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to create a food for our snake. The snake should have a food it should eat, and when it eats the food, it will grow. And to do that, let's do this. We'll just duplicate this sprite one, duplicate it. While we're doing that is so that the food has the same size, the same dimensions with the sprite one, which is a snake. Now after doing it, let's work on the code. We don't need this code. We just trash this code. We don't need it for this the food sprite. So we can rename it food if you want to. Let's rename this snake. I'll rename it from here, snake, and here I'll rename this food. Okay, now let's work on the food code. Well, for the food code, okay, let's not work on the code yet. Let's work on the color. Let's fill this with a different color so that we can distinguish between the food and the snake. So different colors, and click on the paint bucket, fill it in. So I think I like that color, and that's a pink, deep pink color. So we have the snake and we have the food. Now let's work on the food. Now for the food code, we want to set up a situation whereby when it eats the food, it will grow. So let's work on it now. So we want it to start by going to random position. So I'll go to random position, trash this under the motion block, go to random position when the game starts. After it goes to random position, what do we want this to do? We want it to always change position when the snake comes in contact with it. So we want the if block now. If the snake comes in contact with, so sensing, touching, we use touching there, touching the snake. So when it's touching the snake, we want it to go to random position. Let's duplicate the go to random position again. Okay, so when it's touching it, goes to random position. We also want it to play a sound when it touches it. So play sound, pop until done. When it touches, when the snake touches the food, we also want the snake to grow. We'll look at that later, a bit later. And after playing this sound, when it touches it, what else do we want it to do? Okay, I think we should test what we have so far. So this is what we have. It touches it. Okay, we missed out the forever code. Yeah, so forever is missing. Let's get to the control. Forever to swallow this. So you see the importance of forever. Very, very, very important. Let us forever swallow the if block, and then our code will work now. So green flag clicked. Okay, playing the pop sound. Okay, that's a pop sound. Okay, so and it's changing to a random position. So our code is working so far. The next thing we want to do is we want this to grow in size. We want this to grow in size. Whenever the snake eats the food, it should always grow in size. So how can we make this grow in size? Let's look at this. We'll have to create another variable. Before we create another variable, oh sorry, hold on. To make this grow in size, we would use the CloneSize variable that we created earlier. So with the CloneSize variable, we will do this, change CloneSize by, remember this should be under the if block. Remember when we created the CloneSize, this is what controls the size of the snake. So to change the size of the snake, we want to increase the CloneSize by 1, or sorry, 0.1. So after doing that, let's see what we have. Full screen and green flag. Let's see if our snake size is changing. Okay, good. The size of our snake is changing, it's increasing. This is good so far. Okay, so after doing that, that's working fine. We want to add score to this game, so let this game have a score. So to do that, we create another variable, make a variable, we'll call the variable score, and we'll click OK for all sprites. And with the score variable, we'll start another trigger that when this flag is clicked, we want to set the score to 0. And I can use this same one, set score to 0. I don't necessarily need to start a new trigger, so I can just put it up here, not under forever. Be careful not to put it under forever. Score, set score to 0. When you set score to 0, then after every time it's the snake eats the food, then the score should change score by, you can change by 1, you can change by 2, depends on you can change by 3, or by any other parameter you wish to do. So let's test this code and see what we have so far. And green flag. Okay, I have 3 points for eating one food already, so the score is working fine. Okay, I want to play it so that you see how long this snake will be. Another thing is that what we have so far is that this snake can bump into itself, but it doesn't end its life. It just can walk around like that, you see, and it can even bump into the edge of this stage, and it will still continue. How will it continue? If I press the keys again, it will bring it up and it will continue. So you want to add a limitation to all these things. You may not want your game to be like that. You're fine for your game to be like that, fine, but the game has to end. There has to be a time the game ends. So let's add the code which will make this game end. At what point or in what situation do you want this game to end? Okay, so let's say I want when the snake hits the edge of this game, I want it to change. So how do I do that? So I go to the snake and let's add this block of codes to the snake. So to add when flag is clicked and if it's touching the edge, so let's go there. When flag is clicked, events block, and we drag it here. When flag is clicked, and we go to if block. Okay, we can drag the if block here. If then, if it's touching the edge, so let's get touching under sensing. So drag touching mouse pointer here. Change the mouse pointer to edge. So if touching edge, what we want to do is we want to stop all. That's how you end the game. A very simple way to end the game is by using the stop all. So when the snake is touching the edge, you should stop all. Now let's test our code to see. I'll deliberately allow it to touch the edge. It didn't stop all because after I pressed another key, it continued. After I pressed another key, it continued. Okay, so let's see what happened. Yes, we missed out the forever block again. Very, very important. Forever block always solve such issues. So let the forever swallow the if block. Okay, and then our code will be implemented. So let's test our code to see. So I'll hit the edge now. Yes, I'm trying with all the arrow keys and there is no movement, nothing is working. Very good. So our code has been implemented. So now the game ends and we don't see like any significant difference. Okay, what if we want the screen to be blank when the game ends? Okay, with that, let's add a backdrop to that. Choose a backdrop. I'll see if I can find a black screen, something blank to add. Okay, I have stars here, that's fine. So stars is the backdrop. So with these, you'll notice something. If I should play the game now, to start with that backdrop, but I don't want that. So I have to choose the backdrop it should start with. So when green flag is clicked, then switch backdrop. So let's look at where to switch backdrop. Switch backdrop to what? Backdrop 1. That's the white one. Green flag. Okay, we have backdrop 1. Good. Now at this point, when the game ends, then we should switch the backdrop. Switch backdrop to, if it's touching the edge, switch backdrop to backdrop stars. Exactly. So let's test our code to see. And green flag hits the edge, it changed to the stars backdrop. Green flag hit the edge, changed to that. Good. But we still see the snake here and the food here. If you wish for it to disappear, you can always make that happen. And in order to do that, we can add we should add this code here. I'll show you what to add here. When green flag is clicked, you should hide the snake. So this is the code for the snake. When it's like this, you should hide the snake. So let's hide on the looks, click on hide. It should stop all, switch backdrop to this and then hide. So let's see that. I want to hide the snake. Green flag. Okay, snake hides. So that does that. If you want to hide the food as well, when backdrop is switched, so let's come to control. When backdrop switches to event rather. So when backdrop switches to backdrop stars, then what should happen? It should hide the food. Where is the looks? Hide. So let's click the green flag and let's see what we have. Our snake was still hiding. Yes, so you always have to take notes of that. So because of we added the hide command, so we need to add the show command here. Immediately the green flag is clicked, then the show should be there, and only when the game ends should we hide. So because we've added the hide block here, we need to add the show block as well here. So I'll add show there. Let's see if everything works perfectly as we want. So the food is showing here and the snake is showing here. It's eating, the score is changing, and it's eating, the score is changing. Let's hit the edge now. So with the edge, the food is eaten and the snake is eaten. Very good, but it doesn't tell us game over. So how do we do the game over? Okay, we can add a new sprite, paint a new sprite, and call it game over. So click on text and let's type game over. Game over. Okay, there we go. And with this, I'll increase the size of the game over and move it to the center. I'll use this area to position it in the center. Game over. Good. So at what point should we see game over? So when backdrop switches, that is when we need to see a game over. So we bring the when backdrop switches to stars, then it should appear. But when green flag is clicked, it should hide the game over. So loops, and we have when green flag is clicked, it should hide. When backdrop switches to stars, it should appear as game over. So let's see, test our code to see what we have. Okay, now let's make the game end. Game over. That's perfect. Green flag. So our game is ready. Have fun with this. You can practice on your own and create new levels for your game and implement every other thing. Game over. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Do have a fun-filled day. Bye.